Hello everyone. Friction and frictional force. This is the today's topic we are going to take on. So you may have discussed or studied this topic about friction and frictional force in your earlier classes. So in this class also we extend the discussion on friction and frictional force little more qualitative and quantitative as well. So the very first thing we will try to understand what friction is and what is the reason for the friction, right? So let us start. So friction is a kind of force which is not actually existing there, but it comes into action only when one object tries to slide over the surface of another object. So that means if the objects are at rest, means they are not tending to move, in that case the frictional force is 0. And when one object try to slide over the surface of another object, just like you try to slide a book over the surface of the table. So in that case this force, which is called as frictional force, or we can say this friction, comes into action. As soon as a force is applied to make an object slide over the surface of another object, right at the time at that time this friction comes into action. And this friction, it is such a way that it acts along the surface, and it is also opposite to the direction in which the force is applied. That means as the force is applied to make an object slide over the surface of another object, this force may or may not be sufficient to cause the sliding motion of one object over the surface of another object. But as soon as this force is applied, howsoever small it may be, the force of friction comes into action, and this force of friction acts along the surface. It lies along the tangent which is drawn to the surface, along the surface, tangent line along the surface, and the direction of this force of friction, it is opposite to the direction in which the applied force is applied, or we can say applied force is acting. So therefore we can say that the applied force will cause the or will tend to make an object slide in one direction along its own direction, and this force of friction is opposite to that. So that means this force of friction or friction, it is opposite to the direction of motion of the object always. Whichever direction the object starts sliding or tends to slide, friction force always act opposite to that direction. So therefore friction force, it is called as a opposing force or a resistive force. So this is the very first thing about what a force of friction is, or what a friction is. Now how this force of friction comes into action and what is its cause? So as you can see, a person is trying to slide a box over the surface of another object. These surface which appear quite smooth to our naked eyes, but they are not actually smooth whenever we talk about the microscopic level. So this force of friction prohibits, or we can say it opposes, it prevents the motion of the object. In this case, whenever a person try to slide this box over the surface of another object. So what are the causes, or we can say what is the cause and on what factors this force of friction depends. So the frictional force between any two bodies which slides or tend to slide relative to each other, mainly they depend upon three factors. The very first thing is the adhesion between the body surfaces, or we can also call that to be the type of surfaces, which depends upon the type of surfaces. So what is this adhesion? Adhesion means adhesive forces. So the adhesive forces are the one which act between the atoms or molecules of the different we can say objects. So here one object is this box, another object is the surface, a different surface, right? So there will be the forces whenever this object, or we can say box, is lying over the surface of this second object. There are the atoms of this box which are in close proximity of the atoms present in this second object, due to which the atoms of the box and atoms of this second object over the surface, of course, over the surface, feel attractive forces between each other. So, the atoms of the box are attracted towards the atoms of this second surface, due to which this force of attraction between the atoms of the two surfaces, it causes the force of friction. Now, these force atoms mostly lie at the points over the surfaces, and it is not the area which is of the surfaces which is in contact with each other on which the friction depends, but it is the points at which the atoms come in contact with each other or come to exert the force on each other. So, more are the number of points of contact between the two surfaces, more number of atoms will be having the forces between them, interatomic forces between them, due to which more is the frictional force. And the second factor, so how many number of atoms or how many number of points will be in contact, this will first decided by the type of the surfaces we are taking. It may be wooden surface, or it may be the metallic surface, or both are metallic surface, or both are the wooden surfaces, or there may be the surfaces of any other different material, as an example. Second factor which decides the frictional force is the roughness of the surface. So, how this roughness of the surface plays the role towards the friction? Because of the roughness of the surfaces, the different regions of on the surface of one object, they get interlocked with the regions of the second surface, due to which they tend to oppose the motion of the object, which contributes towards the frictional force, right. And the third factor is deformation of the bodies. So, whenever one object try to slide over the surface of another object, there may be deformation in the bodies which are involved in the, we can say, sliding motion due to which this deform, just like you can think about a wheel which is rolling over the surface, right. So, in that case, with the wheel which rolls over the surface of another object, it gets slightly depressed. So, both tire, we can say wheel, as well as that surface slightly gets depressed, due to which a friction force comes into action. So, this is what this third factor mean, and how it contribute toward the frictional force. So, these are the three main factors which contribute towards the friction force, or which plays which becomes the reason for the friction whenever one object try to slide over the surface of another object. Let us proceed. Now, we can discuss the different kinds of friction we face. The very first, it is the static friction. The name suggests static means at rest. So, static friction comes into action whenever the object tends to slide but not in motion. So, it simply means static friction is the friction force whenever one object try to slide over the surface of another object, but actually there is no resultant motion, right. So, whenever one object try to slide over the surface of another object, they tend, or we can say I am using the word try. So, that means the motion is not happening, however, the force is applied in order to cause the change in the to make the object slide, but actually there is no motion. So, whenever one object tend to slide over the surface of another object, right, without actual motion in the objects, relative motion in the objects, in that case whatever the friction between the two surfaces acts, it is called as the static friction. Just as you can focus on this diagram, here it is an object, right. So, here it is the force which is applied in this direction towards the right, and then you can see that there will be some reaction, or we can say friction force, which will come into action along the surface, which will be opposite to the applied force. So, this force which is applied, it is not able to make this object slide. So, that is there is no motion. So, whenever there is no motion between the two objects, the friction which act between the surfaces, it is called as static friction. and this static frictional force or friction, it is directly proportional to the normal reaction. And now what is this normal reaction? Let us try to understand within the same diagram. You can you already understand that whenever there is an object lying over the surface, this object exert a force on this surface. You can think about a book lying or a box lying over the table. Then the box applies or the book applies the force on the table in vertically downward direction. So this force is nothing but the weight of the book, or we can say box, right? Right at the same time, according to Newton's third law of motion, which is the action reaction law, so it simply says that the surface of the table will also exert an equal amount of force, which is equal to the weight on this object in vertically upward direction, normal to the surface. So this force which is acting in on the object in upward direction in reaction to this weight, it is called as a normal. It is called as normal reaction or simply normal. So this is what we understand normal, and this normal force acting, it will be equal to the weight of the object which is acting vertically downward direction. So this is what according to Newton's third law of motion is the normal reaction force. So it is normal reaction. So here we understand that this static friction, in this case whenever object try to slide over the surface, it will be directly proportional to the normal reaction. So more is the weight, more will be the normal reaction, and hence more will be the frictional force. This is what this means. So the static friction, it is written as Fs. So from here we can write that this Fs is equal to some constant of proportionality. We write it as mu s. S stands for static. In Fs as well as in mu s, S stands for static. So that we clearly understand that we are talking about static friction. So Fs becomes equal to mu s into n. N is the normal reaction. In some books, this n normal reaction, it is represented by capital R. So there is no there should be no confusion in that. Okay. Now this mu s, the constant of proportionality here, it is called as coefficient of static friction. It is a constant, and the value of this constant depends upon the kind of the surfaces involved in the sliding friction, right? So this mu s means coefficient of friction. It is a constant. It the value of this depends upon the pair of surfaces which are involved in the frictional motion. So from here we can write this mu s, coefficient of static friction, to be just equal to Fs divided by n. N is the normal reaction. It goes to the other side. It divides the static friction. So from here we understand that this coefficient of static friction, it is given by the ratio of the static friction to the normal reaction. So we already understand that according to this relationship, if n increases, means normal reaction increases, the static friction also increases, so that this ratio always remain constant. And this is the first type of friction we are talking about, static friction, right? It is also called as a self-adjusting force. So what is the meaning of self-adjusting force, and how the static friction is a self-adjusting force? So let us approach to the same diagram. Here it is the object which is acted upon by this force, which is applied force. This is the applied force. In purple color you can see this is the force which is applied on this object to make it slide over the surface of another object, but there is no motion. And right at the time whenever this force is applied, friction, we call it as static friction because there is no motion, this friction force comes into action, static friction, right? So if we slightly increase this force, the static friction will also increase because there is no motion. So that means this force, applied force, is balanced by this static friction, right? So this means as we are increasing the applied force, the static friction goes on increasing according to that. Of course, this can increase only up to a certain limit, not beyond that limit. Okay. Now what we understand from here, that static friction adjusts itself according to the force which is applied. It is increasing with the applied force, or we can say we can call it to be that in the way that static friction is adjusting itself according to the applied force to a certain limit. So for this nature of the static friction, it is called as a self-adjusting force. Okay, let us move to the next kind of friction. It is called as limiting friction. So, here we see that the static friction goes on increasing as the applied force is increased, because the static friction is self adjusting force, but this force can increase only up to a certain limit. After that, if the applied force is further increased, this static friction will no more be able to oppose the motion of the object, or we can say it will oppose, but it will not be able to stop this applied force to make the object move along its direction. Okay. So, that means this static friction can only increase up to some certain maximum value. So, that maximum value just before the object begin to slide. As this static friction balances according to the applied force, there will be no motion in the object, but as this applied force is increased so large that the static friction becomes maximum and it cannot increase beyond that. So, right at that time, whenever one object just at the we can say event of sliding, or at the verge of sliding, or just before it begins sliding, under the effect of these two forces, right at that time, whatever the value of static friction is, its maximum value, it is called as the limiting friction or limiting value of the friction. So, what is limiting friction? It is the maximum static friction just before the object tends to slide. Okay. Let us move to the third kind of friction. It is called as kinetic friction. Now, when this applied force is sufficiently large in order to overcome this static friction, now this object gains some sliding motion over the surface of the other object. Now, this object is moving over the surface, or we can say sliding over the surface of this second object. Now, because this object is in motion, or we can say there is relative motion between the two surfaces. So, there is sliding motion. Now, the friction, whatever the friction is left between the surfaces of these two objects, it is called as the kinetic sliding friction. It is called as kinetic or sliding friction. We call it in general it to be a kinetic friction. So, it is quite simple. Kinetic friction is the one which acts between the two surfaces whenever there is some relative motion between the two surfaces. Okay. And this kinetic friction, it is, or we can say kinetic friction or kinetic frictional force, it is also directly proportional to the normal reaction, and from here we get a constant. So, here the kinetic friction is, it is represented by F k. K here stands for the kinetic, and whenever this proportionality is removed, we get a constant of proportionality called as mu k, which is called as the coefficient of kinetic friction. Here mu s, it was mu s, it is called as the coefficient of static friction, and whenever object is in sliding motion, it is called as coefficient of sliding, or we can say kinetic friction, coefficient of kinetic friction. And from here this mu k, it is nothing but, and goes to the other side and divides this kinetic frictional force F k. So, it becomes the ratio. So, here the coefficient of kinetic friction, it is nothing but the ratio. You can define it like that. It is defined as the ratio of the kinetic frictional force per unit the normal reaction. So, this is how we write these relationships. Okay. Let us proceed to the next topic. Laws of friction. So, whenever one object tends to slides over the surface of another object, it follows some rules, and these rules are called as the laws of friction. Let us have a look at these laws of friction. Very first is that when an object is moving, means sliding over the surface of another object, the friction, whatever the frictional force is acting, this friction is proportional and perpendicular to the normal reaction. So, you can check this diagram. Here it is the object which is having the motion in this direction. This means the frictional force will be opposing the motion of the object. It will act always opposite to the motion of the object, and it will act along the surface. This friction force, it will always act tangential to the surface or along to the surface. Okay. So, this is the pushing force, or we can say applied force. Motion is taking place along the direction of this pushing or applied force, and the frictional force acts along the tangentially along the surface opposite to the motion or opposite to the applied force. And here it is the normal reaction. You can see that the normal reaction and the frictional force are always at right angle to each other. So, this will always be true that whenever an object is moving, the friction is always, or we can say frictional force, it is always proportional and perpendicular to the normal force. It will be proportional to the normal reaction. This we have already understood in this diagram, right? Here the friction, it will always be proportional to n, here as well as this. So, this is what it means. And the second thing is that friction will be perpendicular to the normal reaction. So, this is the very first rule. Second is, the friction is independent of the area of the contact so long as there is area of contact. As long as the surfaces are sliding, this friction force, it will be independent of the how much area the two surfaces are having in contact with each other. Actually, it is not the area, as I have already discussed, that it is the number of points of contact between the two surfaces, right? The more are the number of points in contact, more will be the frictional force. Okay. The third law, the coefficient of static friction, it is slightly greater than the coefficient of kinetic friction. This can also be written as that static friction, it is always greater than the, or we can say limiting value of static friction, it is always greater than the kinetic friction. So, this is the law which we will discuss just after this. The very fourth, force of friction acts tangential to the surface opposite to the applied force, which we already know. And the last law, which is fifth law of friction, it is the friction depends upon the nature of the surfaces in contact. Of course, if the surfaces are changed, the frictional force will also be changed. Okay. So, let us try to sum up this third point, the coefficient of static friction, it is slightly greater than the coefficient of kinetic friction. So, you can check this diagram. Static friction, it is always greater than the kinetic friction, and for this reason, because the coefficient of static friction is more than the coefficient of kinetic friction. So, how does this happen? So, here we have drawn a graph between the force of friction and the applied force. Initially, we know that as the applied force is increased, the force of friction keeps on increasing, and if there is no motion in the object, then that means the object is at rest, and hence this kind of friction, it is called as the static friction. Okay. So, this static friction is adjusting itself according to the applied force, and therefore, it is a self adjusting force, but it adjusts itself or it attains its some certain maximum value. Beyond that, if the applied force is increased, the force of friction, or we can say force of static friction, cannot further increase. So, this maximum value of static friction, it is called as the limiting friction. Beyond that, the force required, it is slightly less, or we can say the force of friction slightly decreases, right. So, force of friction slightly decreases. So, this is now at point A, whenever object starts sliding, the force of friction decreases. So, this force of friction now, whenever object slides, it is called as kinetic friction, kinetic frictional force, and now it is slightly less. Why it is less? Because whenever object begin to slide, now it is in motion, and due to inertia of motion, the required force is slightly less. So, this is what it means. Because of inertia of the moving object, now the force required is slightly less. So, this is what it signifies. So, therefore, applied force required is less. In other way, we can say that the kinetic friction, it is slightly less. So, this dotted line is representing the limiting static friction, and the point B, it is representing the kinetic friction, which is slightly less. So, this is the reason. Okay. So, whenever motion between the two objects takes place due to sliding motion, right. So, there comes two very important terms. One is angle of friction and another is angle of repose. So, let us try to understand both of these one by one. So, what is angle of friction? So, here it is the situation. Whenever the object try to slide over the surface of another object, this may slide over a horizontal surface or over an inclined surface. So, here it is the object, right, and this is the force of friction. This is the force limiting force of friction, static friction, which is the limiting static friction along this direction. That means, the object will be moving along this direction towards the right, and the normal force always act normal to the surface, which is equal to weight of the object here in this case. So, what is this angle of friction? It is the angle at which this frictional force is acting according to the normal reaction. So, that means how do we define the angle of friction? It is the angle between the normal reaction. So, this is the normal reaction. So, the angle of this normal reaction with what? With the resultant. Resultant of what? The limiting force of friction and the normal reaction. So, here it is the normal reaction and this is the limiting friction. So, they will have some resultant along this direction. So, the angle made between the resultant of the normal reaction and the limiting force of friction, this resultant with the normal reaction, this angle it is called as the angle of friction, and we can write it with the theta here. So, from this diagram we understand that this theta, we can write an expression for this angle of friction as tan theta. So, tan theta in this triangle OAC, it is nothing but perpendicular CA, which is equal to limiting friction, divided by base, which is OA, which is equal to normal reaction. So, therefore, tan theta is equal to F, the force of friction, divided by normal reaction. And we already understand that as we have discussed in the last step, that this force of friction, static friction, it is equal to mu s times n. So, from here mu s becomes equal to F upon n. So, means this ratio F upon n, it is nothing but mu s, the coefficient of static friction. So, from here we understand that tangent of the angle of friction, it is always equal to coefficient of static friction. So, this is coefficient of static friction or just coefficient of friction. It may be static friction or it may be a kinetic friction. It is both ways same. So, this is what we mean by angle of friction. So, let us recall it one more time. So, what is angle of friction? It is the angle made by the normal with the resultant of normal and limiting force of friction. So, this normal making an angle with the normal, this resultant making an angle with the normal, this is called as angle of friction. And what is angle of repose? Angle of repose which comes into action, this is the term which is taken into account whenever the surface is inclined over which some object is trying to slide. Suppose that object is lying on a horizontal surface in this way, right. Now, we are tilting this surface over which this object is sliding. So, there will be some frictional force, or this will be the weight of the object which will act in vertically downward direction, right. One component of this weight, it will now act along the surface in downward direction and other component will act in a perpendicular direction. So, this weight now is showing its effect along two directions, along the surface in downward direction and along a normal to that, or along a direction normal to that. So, this component of the weight acting along the surface in downward direction is, now we are not applying any kind of force, but we are just tilting the surface. So, this component of the weight is now contributing towards the we can say applied force. If the object slide, it will slide under the effect of this we can say component of the weight. Now, we keep on increasing this angle of this inclined plane with the horizontal, which we are writing here as phi. In some books, it is written as alpha. So, that should not create confusion of any kind. If this angle is phi, this angle will also be phi. If we keep on increasing this inclined angle of inclination of the inclined surface with the horizontal, then with this the magnitude of component of this weight along the surface in downward direction, it keeps on increasing, and a situation comes whenever under the effect of that component of the weight, the object begin to slide. So, right that moment, whenever this object is about to slide, right, at that situation, whatever the angle is, this is angle of inclination, this is called as angle of repose, right. So, how do we define angle of repose? The minimum angle made by the inclined surface with the horizontal, so that the object lying over the inclined surface just begin to slide, right. So, this is the minimum angle to which this surface to be raised or inclined, so that this object lying over this inclined surface just begin to slide. So, that minimum angle it is called as the angle of repose. And how do we write here it again? So, this can be taken as the or we can say this weight can be resolved into two components. This weight is nothing but the downward force. This can be resolved into two components. One will be along this direction along the surface. So, we are resolving this weight of the object into two components. One component of it will be along this direction, and other component will be normal to it. So, if this is angle of repose is phi, this angle will also be equal to phi, and therefore, this component becomes mg cos phi and this component becomes mg sin phi. So, this is the component of the weight, means the force which is responsible for making an object slide. So, as this angle keeps on increasing, this component becomes more and more. So, it keeps on increasing with this angle phi. Okay. So, this is what we have just written here. So, there are two components, mg sin phi which is acting downward along the surface, it gives rise to the applied force. It is acting as the applied force and it is able to cause the motion in the object. And other component is mg cos theta which is perpendicular component which is equal to the normal reaction. So, the normal reaction it is equal to not weight mg, but now it is equal to this amount of, we can say, weight. So, this is the force which is acting normal to this force and acting equal to normal to the normal reaction. Okay, and this force of friction it is acting in opposite direction. So, from here if we divide these two, so mg sin theta divided by mg cos theta, so we get here tan phi which is nothing but f upon n. So, from here this tan phi we get is it to be equal to f upon m. So, if we divide this component with the second component, we get this tan phi, right. Mg cancels out with the mg at the denominator, and if this angle is phi, this angle is also phi. Again in the same picture we can write just as we have written here tan phi from here. So, from here tan phi will be equal to this frictional force, right, divided by normal reaction. So, from here we understand this ratio tan phi it is equal to f upon m. F upon m it is again nothing but the coefficient of friction. So, we write it as tan phi it is equal to mu s or mu k. You can write it just mu. So, whether the object is sliding or not, we just write it as coefficient of friction. So, this is how we write the angle of repose and this is how we write the angle of friction. And from here we it appears that this coefficient of friction it is equal to angle of friction, and from here it appears that coefficient of friction it is equal to tan phi. So, from here it appears that both values tan of theta and tan of phi both are equal. So, from here we can write that from these two equations that tan theta okay, just give me a second. So, therefore, tan theta it is equal to tan of phi. Okay. So, this relationship hold here true. So, this is about angle of friction and angle of repose. Okay. Now, we can talk about what will be the acceleration of an object which is trying to slide down an inclined surface. So, for this we are taking this situation. So, here is an inclined surface which is making an angle of theta with the horizontal axis, or we can say horizontal, and here is the object, right. So, this weight is resolved into two components, one along the surface in downward direction, other one in a perpendicular direction. So, if this angle is theta, this is also theta. So therefore this component becomes mg sin theta and this component becomes mg cos theta. So it is mg sin theta due to which this object will slide down. So we are taking that the object is sliding down over the inclined surface. So in that case, what will be the acceleration caused in this object? So this theta is the here in the, it is the angle of friction or friction angle. You can call it to be the friction angle as it is. And the frictional force, it will act opposite. It will act opposite to the we can say direction of motion of this object. If this object is sliding downward direction, this friction force will act in opposite, in upward direction, which is given by mu times n. Mu is the coefficient of friction as we have discussed earlier. Okay. So whenever this is the situation, the forces acting on this object can be written as one force which is acting, it is the weight of the object which is acting in vertically downward direction always. Another force is the normal reaction acting normal to the surface in upward direction. So this is the normal reaction, right? Normal reaction is the reaction of the surface actually. So remember this thing. And third kind of the force is the frictional force, which is acting opposite to the, we can say, direction of motion of the object, or we can say in upward direction along the surface. Okay. Now this weight of the object, which is m into g, it is resolved into two components, just as we have just discussed. So the two components of this weight can be written as mg sin theta, as we have discussed, it is along the surface in downward direction, and other one is mg cos theta, opposite to the normal reaction, right. From here we understand this normal reaction, it will be equal to mg cos theta. So mg cos theta is, it is nothing but the normal reaction. Okay. So now the object will slide in downward direction with some acceleration under the effect of these two forces acting opposite to each other, mg sin theta and the force which is acting opposite to it. So the object will accelerate in downward direction only if this mg sin theta is bigger than this force of friction acting in opposite direction, of course. And the net force, because these are the two forces which are acting on the object and object is having the motion along this direction. So that means net force, total force or resultant force, it will be mg sin theta minus this frictional force. Whatever the force is left, it is called as the net force, and it is this force under the effect of which this object will now slide down, right. So if we write the acceleration to be a, then this force can be written as F is equal to m into a, according to the Newton's second law of motion. So from here we write that F m a, it is equal to mg sin theta minus F, right, and F is nothing but the frictional force. You can write the frictional force just equal to be this formula. From here it is mu k into n, where n is nothing but the normal reaction, and from here this normal reaction it is given to be mg cos theta. So it becomes mu k cos mg into cos theta. So whenever you write this value here, and on both sides the value of m just is eliminated, and acceleration a on the left hand side, it gets the value equal to this g into sin theta minus mu k cos theta. So this is the acceleration which will be caused in this object which is trying to slide over an inclined surface, inclined at an angle theta, right. We can also take the opposite case. Suppose that the surface is being pulled in upward direction over an inclined surface which is inclined at an angle theta. So we are pulling the object in upward direction, right. So what will be the acceleration in that case? Now in that case the weight mg, one component of it will always act in downward direction, whether we are pulling it in upward direction or letting it slide down along the surface in downward direction. So one component of this weight mg, which is mg sin theta, it will always act in this direction. The only difference is that whenever we try to pull, or we can say apply the force on this object in upward direction along the surface, the force of friction will be opposite to it. So therefore this mg sin theta component of the weight and the friction force now will be acting along the same direction. So therefore the net force, it will now have a plus sign here. You can do all these steps and you will get this formula. So, there will be only change in this sign here. So, this will be the acceleration in this case, because in that case the friction force F and mg sin theta will be in downward direction along the surface. So, this is what we mean by this acceleration. Okay, now we can conclude and talk about the advantages and disadvantages of the frictional force. So, there are some advantages and there are some disadvantages of the frictional force. Means there are some places where we require the friction and there are the places where we do not want the friction to happen. So, that is why it is called as friction, it is called as a necessary evil. So, what are the advantages? You can just check them out here. Number one, it helps us move on the surface. Walking is a clear example of the friction force. If there is no friction between the surfaces, that means it will be not possible to walk on or move on the surface. It helps us in writing. Of course, it is the frictional force between pen and the paper, with which, or we can say chalk and the board, so that we are able to write. It helps to start or stop a vehicle on the road. Of course, if there is no friction, the vehicle will not be able to stop or start. Number 4, the concept of friction, it keeps belts in place on a rim. For example, if there is a belt which is rolling over a rim, then it is the friction with which this belt remains on the rim. It helps lighting up a matchstick. Of course, whenever you give a friction to the matchstick with the match box, it makes it light up. And also it helps in grinding. So, there are a lot of applications of, or we can say uses of the friction, but there are some cases where this friction force is undesirable and it should be avoided as far as possible, right. Due to friction, energy loss takes place. A large amount of energy is wasted in order to just overcome this opposing frictional force. It restricts the speed of the objects. It also limits the speed of the objects. And another is parts of the machine. For example, in case of factories where the machines may make use of parts and different we can say components, their parts of the machine just wear and tear out due to the friction, right. It is due to the friction that the efficiency of machine decreases, or it is not 100%, because friction force is something which opposes the working of machine. And sometimes it damages the machine because of the excessive burning heat produced and cause the burning of the machine due to the frictional force. So, these are some disadvantages of the friction. So, that is why friction it is called as necessary, but it is an evil thing also. Okay. Now, we can conclude what method we can adopt in order to reduce the friction. The first thing is we can lubricate the parts of the machine, because lubricating reduces the friction. It reduces the points of contact between the two surfaces, so that the friction is reduced. We can also reduce the friction by polishing the surfaces. Once we polish the surfaces, the friction reduces because the number of points of contact decreases. And we can also reduce the frictional force by converting sliding friction into rolling friction. By making use of ball bearings in machines, this friction can be reduced. Or the fourth way in which the friction can be reduced is by giving the object a streamlined shape. The objects can be given in some specific shape, so that it faces less resistance due to air, or we can say friction due to air, or we can say any streamlined liquid. So, here just the point to understand what is a rolling friction. So, rolling friction takes place whenever an object try to roll over the surface of another object. So, how this rolling friction comes into action, how this opposing friction comes into action, which is actually less than the sliding friction. So, this is the situation whenever a wheel or object, for example, roll on a surface, it just slightly gets deformed itself, and it also depresses the surface over which it is sliding. So, in that case both of these, wheel as well as the surface, get depressed, due to which this depression starts exerting the force from all directions normal to the wheel, and we see that the average force is opposite to the direction in which this wheel is moving. So, it will get more opposing force than the supporting force. So, there from there, because the wheel has to climb this bump which is caused by this wheel. So, this wheel has to climb this bump. So, that means the opposing force in this case, it is called as the rolling friction. So, this rolling friction is less than the case whenever objects slide over the surface of another object. So, this is about the friction. That is all for now. Thank you.